We're back. It's Tommy Two Tits. That's Baloney Jones. You're listening
Fuck
to
you.
another episode of In Gear. So I got to obviously start it off with something that's dear to my heart. A little bit of, a little bit of talk that I like to talk, So I got a question for you.
All right, I'm ready for it.
Are you a Bush guy?
Bush guy.
No Bush. I need opinions on Bush before I get into this.
Okay. So to be honest with you, I don't think it matters a whole lot to me. Like, I'm just happy to be there.
Okay. So like for me, when I was like super young, I feel like that's more when you care. Like you're out of high school, like, oh my God, girls should be like clean shaven, or whoever you're sleeping with should be clean shaven, right? So I really cared, I think, when I was younger, and that changed as you grow older and get more mature. And like you said, you're just happy to be there, right?
Right, absolutely.
And so it's like it cuts to a point where like, you know what? If they're enjoying this, I'm enjoying this, and whatever heartache and shit I have to tough through, I'll tough it out because I'm getting laid, right?
Yeah, I mean, let's not pretend it's not a chore to fucking trim the hedges a little bit too. Like, I don't know about if you've ever done it yourself. I have done it to myself, and if done improperly, it can be a damn catastrophe.
Exactly. So this rolls into my story here. I was down and out. I was down on my luck a few years ago. Maybe like 6-7 years ago at this point. So I went and I started, I live with my best friend. My best friend saw I was, down and out, and he was like, "Hey man, come live with me, come stay with me." And I was like, "Hell yeah, man." Like, shout out to him and his mother, for taking me in. Great people, love them to death. Amazing. So they took me in, and I had my own room up there. We're chilling. So he had this girlfriend at the time, his very serious girlfriend, who is now his wife. They have kids. And I'm talking to his fucking girlfriend. I'm talking to him, and I'm single, just got out of a relationship. And they're like, "Hey, my girlfriend has a sister," and she was a little older than me, maybe like 4 or 5 years older than me.
Okay.
And I was like, "Okay," but I thought she was like a weird psycho lesbian girl. And she was like, "Well, kind of, who knows?" And I was like, "Okay, well, let me see a picture of her." She wasn't a 10 out of 10. I would even give her maybe a 4 out of 10.
Oof.
But the point was, it was great conversation topic. If I got to fuck her, it would be a funny conversation to come back to my buddy and be like, "Yo, I fucked your sister." You know what I mean? Like one of those things. So I hit her up. We're talking. She's one of those girls that gets obsessed instantly. Like, just fucking retardedly obsessed. Like, insane. And I hit her up one day, and this is how crazy she was. I said, "Hey, maybe we can hang out later today." I get a call.
Yeah, you're smooth, dude.
Yeah, I got a call later from my buddy's sister, and he's like, "Hey, did you invite my sister over? Because she's on her way to like my boyfriend, like his house now." I was like, "Fuck!" So I rushed home from where I was. She rolled up, like just got like the location from somewhere, rolled up to the house, and she's skinny. Like her face is kind of fucked, but being like a 18-year-old kid, a 24, 26-year-old woman comes up to you, you're not going to turn that down because it's like, damn, this 26-year-old wants to fuck me, and I'm like a fucking young kid. Hell yeah, I'll do that.
Yeah, why
so
not?
I suffered through it. I bring her upstairs. We're like doing the thing. And like you said, I know we talked about this in previous episodes. I like to get off when the girl gets off. So I go down there, I'm doing the whole, charade. I'm making her feel good. I start working my way down south. I get down there, and she's full bush.
Oh, it's 1979 down there.
No, I'm talking like it seemed like she hasn't shaved ever.
Yeah.
Like maybe 1.5 inches, like length. I don't even know. So I see that. And as a man, you don't go instantly, "Ew, gross." You man up, and you're there for a job. You get in there and you do what you got to do because that's your fucking job at the moment.
Yeah, you're in there. You're going to get the work done no matter what it costs you.
Exactly. So I get down there, and I'm like munching. I'm doing what I got to do. I'm putting in that fucking work, right?
You are flossing those teeth.
Flossing, which exactly relates to the fact that moments later, I was actually pulling pubic hair out of my teeth.
Good.
No, not good. So at this point, that gave me a bad taste. And not that I hate bush or I don't want a bush, but preferably, I don't think it's nice to have to pull hair out of my teeth.
No, I guess that's not the best thing. But like I said, at least you're happy to be there. This actually kind of reminded me of a story of a friend of mine. You know what? We could probably talk on him for a while. So if I ever told you about my friend, he's from Kansas, which is where I'm from. His name's Tim Buck Owens.
Really? Oh, yeah. Yes. Yes. Tracking. Understanding. Yeah.
So yeah, weird story about Tim. I have several. Well, maybe we'll just go through them. But yeah, so one of them is once upon a time, myself, Tim Buck Owens, and another friend of mine, all three of us went to a local strip club. We were like 21, 22 apiece, somewhere very young, just old enough to drink and see some naked women.
Oh yeah.
So we go to the strip club, and I guess because of our youth and inexperience, we also didn't realize how financially detrimental a strip club can be, by the way.
I mean, you taught me that. You took me to my first strip club.
Yeah.
And you taught me like, hey man, you're just here to spend money.
Yes.
And that's all you're doing. Like,
Yeah.
don't expect anything out of this. This is what it is. Take it for what it is and get just ready to lose money for just funsies.
100%. So we go in there and, we each got like, I don't know, 20 or 40 bucks in our pocket. And we're like,
now,
yeah.
When was this? How long ago was this?
Oh, it would have been probably, let's pretend 2007, 2008.
Okay. So at that point, 20, 40 bucks.
It'll get you a little bit.
Yeah.
So we go in there, we buy a couple drinks to kind of loosen ourselves up and get relaxed. And the women are dancing, and we're nervous and excited all at the same time.
Boobs everywhere.
Yeah, boobs all over the place. It's a full nude strip club too.
That's dope. That's dope as fuck.
So, the girls come up and they're being super friendly, and they ask my buddy Tim Buck Owens, "Hi, do you want a lap dance?"
Okay.
First question out of his mouth is how much?
Of course.
And I don't remember the exact numbers on the situation, but let's pretend it was like, I don't know, $30 for a topless dance, 40 for full nude.
You said 20 for topless, 40 full nude?
I think it was less of a dramatic difference than that. I think it was like 30 topless, 20 full nude.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So really, I mean, the smart money there is to just go ahead and pay the 40.
It's like McDonald's. You're gonna get the large cup of fucking soda. It's 20 cents more.
100%.
Of course, you're going with the large cup.
So of course, Tim, being a complete idiot, decides he's going to go ahead and go on a budget here, and he's going to go for the topless dance.
Oof. Okay. All right.
So the stripper takes him to the back room and proceeds to give him a lap dance. Of course, we can't see it because that's an exclusive thing that you pay for.
No group rates.
No, there's no, I mean, maybe there was, but we weren't paying for a group rate, of course. So they go to the private room and they have a lap dance, and he comes back, and immediately we ask him how the lap dance was. And of course he's like, that was great, yada, yada, yada. And he excuses himself to go to the restroom. Come to find out, this is probably not a surprise to some of our listeners, he decided to masturbate in the strip club bathroom after one lap dance.
So one lap dance got him to where he needed to be, and he's like, damn, I need to get out of here. He didn't even say, there was no build up. He didn't save it. He wasn't like, you know what? I'm feeling good. I'm in the mood I want to be, because that's really where you want to be at a strip club, I would assume, or that's where the strippers want you to be, because you're already ready, rocking and rolling, right?
Of course.
So at that point, you're like, I'll spend any amount of money. I need more of this, right? So he decides, I went on the budget. Now I'm going to go relieve myself because, maybe financial reasons. He didn't want to be, what's it called when you thinking with the other head, right? He didn't want to be thinking with the, who knows?
Well, I don't know about that. I mean, yeah, maybe he thought that was as good as he was going to get, or I don't know. But of course, I can paint a picture in your mind of what this bathroom looked like. And
disgusting.
It's nowhere I would want to pull my wiener out for anything like that.
Ugh.
But yeah, that's Tim. He did not pay. He did not make the smart purchase on the lap dance. He should have went for the full nude.
And that's really just being financially responsible at that point.
I think it is. I mean, then that could speak to a lot of other portions of Tim's life. Matter of fact, there's another story I got about Tim. We were in our late teens, early 20s, and we were playing paintball.
Okay. Wait, like at a course, or you guys had property, or y'all had paintball guns? Like what? I don't.
Yeah, so in Kansas, there's a lot of rural areas. Obviously, there's a lot of farmland. So we went out to this guy. He had, I don't know, a few acres of land, and he had a whole thing set up where you could go out in his woods he had behind his house that was all configured to where it was a very interesting paintball scenario. And so we showed up there every Saturday. He would do paintball, and there'd be, 30, 40, 50 people, depending on the weekend.
Oh, wow.
And Tim, not being the most financially responsible person, shows up a little light on cash, which
And
also
is that a normal thing for Tim? Is he always just light on cash? Like, is it his own fault? Is he just frugal with his money? Like is he just...
I would say it's his own fault, but that's
Okay.
probably a story for another day. But so he's light on cash, and he pulls up in his little old ass S10 pickup. All been there. I had an old ass Ranger at the time.
Same.
Yeah. So, and he offers me, he says, "Hey, if I can borrow some of your paintballs, Justin, I will trade you some of my beers."
He brought beer to the area?
Yes, which actually reminds me, he must have been 21 because he was the guy that bought the
And you
beers.
weren't 21?
Yeah, I was probably 19 or 20.
Okay, so he thought, hey, I can get this kid some beer because this kid can't buy beer. So let me get him a little beer. Maybe he'll give me a couple of his paintballs.
So I look over and I look at that cooler and I go, "Hey, Tim, hasn't that cooler been sitting in the back of your truck for a couple weeks now? It's, it's July. It is hot as ass outside." And he's like, "No, no, no. The beers are just fine."
He's trying to pawn off some shitty beer on you.
What's that?
He's trying to pawn off. I got these old beers. I don't have money. It's like, he's trying to barter with you with some shitty beer for some fresh painties.
Yeah. So he cracks open that cooler and he pulls out a beer to demonstrate that these beers are still fresh. And immediately upon opening that cooler, you get a waft of that skunky beer smell.
Oh, God.
So he goes ahead and pulls the beer out, pops the top, and all credit to Tim in this. If you're going to try to con me into, trading bad beer for
make it believable,
he takes a damn hero pull off of that beer. He puts it home.
Jesus.
And he must have had a third of that beer in one big gulp. And he makes the most disgusting bitter beer face. Of course, our listeners probably can't see that. And then he turns around and he's like, "Want one?"
Want one?
Actually, no, I don't. You know what? You can just go ahead and use some of my extra paintballs. That's
for
fine.
Free.
But you don't need to give me any of that beer.
Because at that point, you're losing. It's like you're giving away something and then forcing yourself into pain and torment. For what reason? There is no reason.
There's no reason.
It just doesn't make sense to do that.
I think he probably, after that, at some point, probably shit himself from consuming that bad beer.
That's disgusting. Do you even remember what the beer was? Was it like a Bud Light? Was it a craft beer?
I think it was probably Bud Heavies.
Oh, God.
He's one of those more traditional guys. Like he'll drink a Coors Banquet or a Bud Heavy or
Coors Banquets are heavy. Us both living in Colorado, I remember I used to buy Coors Banquet quite a bit. And, just being able to put one back, it was a nice, hot day beer where you have one of them. But I couldn't drink, because we're whiskey guys, We could do a bottle each. Right, yeah, we could do a bottle each. Easy. And be fine with it. But the amount of beer we'd have to drink to get to nearly where we usually are with whiskey is I don't think I could drink that much liquid.
I mean, I think if I sat down with the intention to catch a good buzz, I could drink a 12-pack in a short period of time.
Kind of like those 40s. Those 40s we had the other night where we almost played Edward 40 hands.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
What was the brand on that?
It wasn't Steel Reserve.
No.
It wasn't Old English. It was Hurricane.
I've never even heard of that until I got out here to the islands.
And honestly, for me, I'm not a beer guy, and you know that.
Yeah.
It was very hard for me to put that. But I did get it. It's a different buzz, I feel, right? Because I feel like drunk is drunk. But that buzz and that lead up, you get wine tipsy. It's different than if you're getting tequila tipsy or whiskey tipsy or beer. I feel like as silly as it may sound, I think that's all subjective to the person, right?
Yeah.
But you do get these little different vibes and feelings off different alcohols. Like some people will refuse to drink, whether it's vodka or whiskey or whatever it may be, because, I have a bad story to that, or I just hate it, or I get angry, There are those people, and I have seen that, where people, I got this buddy, I call him Trince, and he's like, I don't drink whiskey. I get mean when I'm on whiskey. And, one day he did drink some whiskey, and he did get a little rowdy.
Well, at least he identifies that himself. And you know what, though? I think depending on the alcohol, of course, I can get really drunk off about anything and end up throwing up. But I think for the most part, if I'm drinking some beers, I'm probably the most likely to throw up. I don't know what it is, but when I'm consuming beer, I feel like I'm very likely to throw up.
You think it's the foam, the volume?
It's probably the volume. It's the lowest, alcohol content you can regularly buy and something like that. But yeah, and
Well, what is a normal beer is like what, 4%?
I think they're about 6%.
No, there's no way.
I think they are.
I remember when I was working at the distributor, the beer distributor, we used to sell a beer called Double Dog. Double Dog, I think it was, or
Oh, those microbrews can be 10 or 20%.
Oh no, well, it was 12%.
Yeah, that seems pretty typical for some of the
That's
small
wild.
breweries.
Yeah, that's wild.
But I think your main domestic beers are hovering around 6%.
Okay.
Actually, that kind of reminds me of another story about Tim, come to think of it, because I was talking about vomiting. Let me tell you the Tim Buck Owens vomit story.
I'm here for vomit. Interested.
All right, so this one might turn your stomach a little bit. So
try me.
Tim Buck Owens is at a youth event, and he's probably in his late teens, probably 17. And he gets involved in this contest. It's like a ginger ale drinking contest for some fabulous prize, probably a Lance Armstrong bracelet or something like that. And they go through a few iterations, like a tournament bracket style. And he gets further down the road, and after he wins the first one, and he goes to the second one. I think he wins
the second round.
The second round. So he goes to the second round. He wins that one. He's in the final round.
The finals.
Yes.
What was it? Ginger ale?
Ginger ale drinking. I don't know who came up with this contest. It's
almost like the milk jug challenge. Remember when that was a hot thing? You drink a gallon of milk with your buddies, and the first one to either finish it wins, or the last one to throw up and fucking vomit everywhere wins.
That just sounds like it's no good for anybody.
I can't drink a gallon of milk.
No, who can?
Yeah, no.
So Tim Buck Owens, he's in the final round. He's going up against somebody, and they start putting down that ginger ale for the third time.
Are we talking 2 liters or cans?
Oh, I don't think it was a 2-liter each round. It was probably, I don't even know. I don't know the volume of measurement. A solo cup's worth 10 ounces.
Okay.
Well, anyway, he starts putting down this third big cup of ginger ale, and I guess it just didn't sit with him right. So, of course, on stage in front of all the other teenagers, he sends it back up for everybody to see.
Wait, sends it back up as in?
He vomits that ginger ale back up.
Okay.
Now, that story in itself wouldn't be that unusual.
What was the crowd like? I need to know before you go on. The audience wise.
Oh, it was, I don't know, 25, 30, 40 at the top.
Younger kids?
Young teens.
16?
It was just like this program, like an outreach program where the kids come and they get out of school during the afternoon, and they come over here and they play some games and stuff.
Okay.
So he vomits up the ginger ale and whatever contents else was in his stomach, and
maybe like a chicken
right
Alfredo.
Hand on my mother's grave, for some reason unbeknownst to me, only known to Tim and God, he identifies something in his expulsion.
Oh, so he just threw up. That in itself's got to be embarrassing, a little bit, right?
Oh, I would assume so.
So to make light of the situation, he probably was like, okay, haha, I threw up, everybody look at me. Also, oh my God, look inside of that.
Yes. So he looks down, he finds something worth saving.
Was it a condom?
I have no idea what was in his stomach. I did identify from where I was standing what the item was, but he reaches down in his own vomit, pulls it from the puddle, and places it in the pocket, and then excuses himself to the bathroom.
Are you serious?
Yes. What would you put in your pocket that came out of your own stomach?
Maybe a key?
Why is he swallowing keys?
There's could have been a possibility that maybe he was held hostage, or he knew he was going to get arrested. He had a master key. He wanted to. I would assume key. I also I know when I was a kid, occasionally I would happen to swallow a penny or two, a quarter on occasion if I was feeling frisky.
Let's not forget the guy's 16 at the youngest here, probably 17.
Maybe bus fare.
He had his bus pass stored in his stomach for later.
A couple quarters. I don't know. I really, like you said, I have no idea. Well, maybe a Lego guy.
I don't. I think he just thought it would be funny, to be honest with you.
Oh,
or
look at
disgusting,
that!
but
Like, trying to look
yeah,
badass, like make light of the situation.
I suppose. I got one more Tim story for you though.
You
So
know what? I really enjoy the Tim stories just because they're so bizarre. So
yeah,
I'm ready.
bizarre sums up Tim. If you haven't figured out Tim by the first three incidents, then I don't know what to tell you. But
Hell yeah.
so Tim Buck Evans was over at my house one evening, and myself, my brother, and Tim, we were playing video games on like the original Xbox.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, we were playing like Halo or something.
Halo 2?
I don't even think it was 2.
Really? Okay.
I'm not sure. That's neither here nor there. It's getting late in the day though, and I think he's packing up his stuff, getting ready to leave because he's going to go home. So he grabs his Xbox, or so I thought, and I was already in bed in that room. I was laying down, and Tim was in the room with the television. My back was turned towards the wall away from Tim while I'm laying in bed trying to fall asleep.
Okay.
And of course, I can hear him rustling around. I assume he's packing up his Xbox. He's
God.
getting his cords and everything,
No.
putting away his controllers. Must not have been exactly what he was doing.
Is this going in the area that I think it's going in?
I'm not 100% sure what area you think it's going to.
Well, I have a gutter slut mind, so.
So let me tell you what does happen. Tim Buck Owens. He decides it's a good time, I guess, to pull out some DVD porn video and put it in his Xbox to play.
Oh, okay, so you're asleep.
Well, I'm not asleep. I'm almost asleep.
You're trying to sleep.
Yeah.
And he's rustling around. You're thinking he's packing up whatever. He puts a porno in. And for what reason being? Like, what did he give you like a, hey man, let's just watch some porn together? Like, let's jerk off together?
No,
like,
there's no conversation. First of all, my mom, my dad, and my brother in the next room. I'm in this room with him. Like, nothing about this would interest me.
The stars weren't aligning. The situation wasn't right.
It was not the right time or place to throw in adult cinema. But he goes ahead and does that, and I hear some sounds. So, of course, I roll over to see what the hell is going on. And I discover Tim Buck Owens sitting in front of the television with his Xbox, watching an adult video, and it's two females on the screen.
Okay. Hell yeah.
Yeah. And just about the time I'm about to ask him, yo, Tim, what the fuck?
What are you doing?
Yeah, that's about the time a guy walks onto the screen and he says the famous words, "Oh, finally the guy."
What? Okay. The actor in the porno didn't say that. He said, "Oh, finally, the guy's here now."
Yes, I guess Tim's been looking forward to the guy showing up in the porn.
Jesus. Has he watched this before? Like, did he rent it? Like,
Oh, I didn't really quiz him on.
I was gonna say, if he's
the
watched
whereabouts
before,
of
he
this
knows the
film.
guy's gonna come in there at some point, or maybe he's just like, you know what? That's bizarre to me. Okay, well, okay, sure. If he's into that, fine. Okay, he hits you with that, and then what?
I assume he just wanted to see that guy go to work on those females, but that phrasing sticks with me to this day. Finally, the guy. I don't know. Maybe it sounds a little bit like he has to really address his own sexual curiosities or what that is. I don't know.
See, I don't disagree with it, because for me, obviously, I don't know about you, but I am not a big lesbian porn watcher. I don't really get off on that. Like, cool, it's all girls, but you want to see something that's real, and you want to see something that's happening. And
I think that's something, especially as a heterosexual male, you would kind of mature out of when you're 18 years old or whatever. Ooh, lesbian sex. That's what I want. But then you get a little bit older and you're like, okay, like I want to see what I hope to be doing, I suppose.
That's why I'm a big amateur porn fan.
Amateur porn.
Yeah, I don't like professional, like Brazzers, porn. I don't like people who have great camera quality. Like, I want something that's recorded on your phone in the back of a Walmart parking lot in the back seat of like a Chevy Caprice.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Maybe even a Buick LeSabre.
I suppose I know what you mean. I don't know that I can necessarily agree.
I just don't want something acted. I don't want to see actors. I don't want to see famous porn stars. Although I do have one famous porn star that I love. Her name is Yin Leon. I think that's what she is. A gorgeous woman. And actually her husband and her, like, It's almost like when I watch them having sex, I'm not even like hard. I'm just appreciative of the content they're putting out. And I'm also like, good for you, man, that you have that as a wife. And good for you. They don't do any, it's just them two. There's no other third party person coming in. There's no two girls, one guy, two guys, one girl. It is just this man, this wife. He's got a hot wife. I think he used to be like he was like an ex-army ranger, like super in shape.
Oh, well,
Like,
God
yeah,
bless him.
yeah, he's like a drill sergeant, I believe. Like great military career. Obviously got a banging wife, afforded the hell of a lot of plastic surgery, which looks great on her. And that's like, yeah, I'm just appreciative of the content. And that's one of the biggest things about stuff like that. I don't know if you find yourself ever doing this, but I'm a big Pornhub fan. That's what I use.
I don't really think, like, don't get me wrong, I'm not going to pretend that I don't watch a little adult entertainment, but I don't know if I could narrow it down to one particular category that interests me, or amateur, or like.
Well, the thing about
go on and on,
Pornhub,
but
what you got through that is, and it's always funny. No, you could type in the weirdest thing on Pornhub, find a video that has like 2 views or something crazy, and you look at the comments on that video, and there's always hilarious comments, like comments that don't even pertain. Like you can go to like some porn video, go to the comments, and find a recipe for some like chocolate chip cookies.
Okay, see, so your adult entertainment experience is definitely different than mine.
Okay,
I don't spend a lot of time in the comment sections. I'm there to do business.
you're like a get in, get out kind of guy. Like, hey, I'm limited on time. I may have 7 minutes to do this.
Well, I don't know that I have 7 minutes. I'm a grown ass man. I got the house to myself right now. The wife's out of town. I could take 2 hours if I really choose to.
That's too long for me.
Yeah.
I need, give me 3 minutes on a long day.
Well, that's impressive.
Yeah. It's like, yeah, I'm down there for maybe 3 minutes. I do my job and I get out. Like you said, I'm down there for a mission, and that's what I got.
Yeah.
So, question for you. I
I'm
got a
ready
little
for
bit
it.
of a surprise for you.
Okay.
You're a Pepsi guy, hence the nickname Cigarette Pepsi Guy, right?
I do drink more Pepsi than I should.
Give me your average Pepsi intake for the week. No shame. Let me know. I need to know what your drink, like how much Pepsi do you actually intake?
So you know the 20-ounce bottles?
I'm thinking cans.
Well,
Or
I don't
20
usually
ounce.
have
Divide it up
cans.
how you need.
So I'll usually have probably 2 20-ounce bottles, sometimes 3 a day. It's a lot.
That's a lot. That's a lot. I think I remember one time we were working together a while ago and we were like, hey, how many dumpster fulls of Pepsi do you drink a year? And we tried getting the cubic feet of an average dumpster, transferred that to volume in like liters, and then kind of figured out how much of a dumpster filled full of Pepsi you drink a year.
Yeah, I remember that conversation, and to this day, I still don't understand where these units of measure are coming from. Why we're using a dumpster to determine how much Pepsi I'm consuming a year. I'm sure it must be a lot. Does it fill an entire dumpster? Does it fill 2? I really couldn't tell you.
I don't know, but I'm gonna set up our station right now.
Okay.
I have a taste test for you that I need you to do.
Oh, we're doing a taste test.
We're doing a taste test. I got my decanter full of ice. I said, now, do you prefer your Pepsi? Are you okay with a little bit of ice in your Pepsi?
Yeah, I can do ice with Pepsi. I can do it
Okay.
raw.
Are you a 2 cube, 3 cube, 4 cube?
You
I'm
can
only
throw-
gonna
you
do
can
like a
throw
half
2
a
or
glass
3
of
in
this.
there. Just a little half glass? I
Yeah.
could do.
3?
Let's just do 2 cubes.
2? Okay. So let's try this out. We got 1, 2.
Okay.
1, 2. Now I'm hoping you haven't beat me to the punch on this because this is something that I know like I want to try for a while.
All right.
So bear with me for a quick second here.
All right. So you are getting into that bag right there. I think I know where this is going.
I got
And
it.
Let's see.
In the bag. Now, we talked about this in Colorado, and I want to know if you've gotten a chance. I'd hope you haven't.
Okay.
So, Pepsi Nitro.
Nitro Pepsi. Yes.
Nitro
I have
Pepsi.
had Nitro Pepsi.
So, this is my first time for Nitro Pepsi. Let's check these out here. Oh, Jesus Christ.
It's not going to replace regular Pepsi in my arsenal. Don't get me wrong.
Well, this is very creamy.
Yes, it's a very creamy beverage. It's a good way to describe what it is. Very creamy. It's very, very soft to your palate. It's not harsh.
Here's your Pepsi, sir.
All right.
Give me a cheers. This is my first time tasting Pepsi Nitro. Nitro Pepsi, rather.
And let's send her home.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's a cola that really just doesn't do it for me the same way original Pepsi does.
It doesn't have the carbonation value, I think, that normally does.
I think it tastes a little flat, if you will, but also has more of a creamy texture.
It is definitely more creamy than normal. It's creamy, but like you said, it's got a flatter texture. And now I understand that being that's because, like, you know, I'm always taking swigs off your Pepsi. Now that we've actually gotten the opportunity to, I have rather to try this out. I'm seeing all this foam. Like, this can is just foam like crazy. It's insane. You got the nitro fucking little. It's not a ball. It's a little capsule in the bottom thing. Little half bottle cap, 2 liter bottle cap wise.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I get the flatness.
It's really not flat. Like, it's still not carbonated. It's got nitrogen,
yeah.
But it still has those bubbles. But it's quite different than a carbonated beverage.
So you can see yourself not switching out your Pepsi for Nitro Pepsi.
No,
not at all.
No.
Okay. Well, you heard it here, folks, by Cigarette Pepsi Guy. Nitro Pepsi is not going to be a replacement for his daily Pepsi intake.
And I want to go ahead and throw out our email real quick. It's ingearpodcast@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you. You can give us any questions, comments, concerns. Tell us we're big pieces of shit. So
do it.
While I got your attention, as a matter of fact, I need to go ahead and address our technical director. That's Sean. I like to call him Sean Blippy. His links are going to be in the bio. If you have any work for him, you can go and send it his way. He's going to love to hear from you. He's got great prices and he's very available for you. I'm going to go ahead and toss it over real quick to the smallest penis in the podcast game, Tommy Two Gloves. How are you doing on the second half of the show?
You know, the only reason you know what my penis looks like is because you're always sucking it.
Yeah, because how gay you are.
You know, I have to add on to that whole, you know, Sean Donald Rethmeyer, you know, him and his photography business and everything he's doing for us, you know.
Yeah.
It seems like he's always on 24 hours a day. We call him at any moment and he's like awake and doing it. And I know he has a lot of content that he's dealing with, and he has his business, whether it's like, you know, weddings, you know, high school graduation photos, editing, video processing, whatever it may be. He's always up and he's always doing what he can. And I really honestly can't thank him enough, because he's made our life a shit ton easier. Because listen, let's be honest, Justin, we just come on here, we talk, we send it off, it comes back to us, and it's flawless.
Oh, he's been really great to us so far.
He's
great. Really a jack of all trades as far as technical media goes, too.
I think the biggest thing about it is, you know, being that we're in Hawaii, and you no matter whether you're on the West Coast, East Coast, you know, you're on island time, you're over in Hawaii, mountain time, wherever it is, he seems to always, like, him and his team, they're always like kind of like available. And yes. I think, you know, because like we will be up till like on our time, we'll be up till like 3 a.m. and we call, and it's like they have somebody there to talk to us and walk it through it.
Yes.
And for me, that's the biggest thing, because we all don't work the same hours. We all don't have the same schedule. So if you figure, you know, hey, I just had this done and I just recorded this, whether it's music, you know, audio, podcast, video, I have a question, what should I do? They're always there.
Oh, 100%.
And for me, that's the biggest thing, is just being able to like be stuck and then be able to reach out to somebody and they're like, hey, no matter what time it is, I got you. And you know what the biggest thing about it for me is the turnaround time.
Oh, yeah.
It's always good. It's like, I don't have to like, because, you know, like you put out a good piece of content, you don't want to wait 2 weeks.
Yeah, I mean, we just called him the other day and we had, he just needed to convert some media for us, which is not the craziest, hardest process you've ever heard of.
It took him 20 minutes.
But instantly he's like, yeah, I'm going to get this for you. Just stand by. And he went ahead and did that for him using whatever software program he has, and turned around, and within an hour or so, he had this converted, and we were ready to do what we needed to do with that media.
Exactly. And like the biggest thing I think would he help, because we're not, let's be honest, we're not the most technically savvy people, right?
I can say I'm not.
what's really good about it is like he always goes above and beyond. And like I remember we sent him one of our very, very early, test clips. He had it done instantly and he went above and beyond, added sound effects, noise gated it, did all those fancy things that really I don't have no interest in learning, nor do I care to learn. I just want to come on here and talk to you.
Yes.
And that's also a really good thing about him and his team is they just you give us your raw media files or whatever the hell you're going to give us. We do all the extra work and and his prices are very reasonable.
I agree.
I would say they're very competitive and the one thing I can't reiterate this enough is that 24-hour support. Just him and his team. Someone's always up. Someone's always there just working on projects. And if you have a question, you can call them and get with them just instantly.
Yeah, I agree. Like that's the kind of support that you really want to have when you're getting into a venture like this. Like our job is not only sitting in front of a microphone yakking it up. We have a lot of production pre and post that goes into it. So any way you can have a technical director like that that'll just make your life easier is better. But hey, I wanted to talk to you about something because I know you're a car guy.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So I was on old H1 highway here in Oahu, and I just happened to see an old Mark II.
A Mark II, the
Yes.
V6 Turbo NA or
I'm sorry, did I say Mark II? It's MK2, a little different.
MK2.
Yes. You remember the Toyota MK2 that came out early 90s?
Was that the my father always told me my actually godfather, he had one. Was that the NA V6 version of the Supra?
I'm not sure just from driving behind it which one it was. It was a
Okay.
great looking car.
What any mods? Could you tell anything like going on with it?
Yeah, I mean it had some custom rims and like a little body kit on it.
Was it clean?
Yeah, it looked real good for its age.
Good.
And as a matter of fact, I saw another cool car. I know we've talked about in our private life a handful of times. Saw this wide body kit Supra, this new Supra they come out with. It was a gunmetal gray, great looking color, and it had this aftermarket wide body kit on it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think I actually was driving home one day and I sent you a picture of that. And I was like,
you might have.
I think I sent you. Remember when I was on the phone with you and I was like, yo, dude, there's this wide ass, now at this point, it's the Mark V Supra.
Yeah.
Which they took a lot from the BMW. And if I'm saying something wrong, any of our viewers, please chime in. But I'm fairly certain BMW had a big influence. It was their drivetrain and engine system.
I believe you're right on that.
And they really incorporated it into the new Mark V Supra. And, here's my opinion about that. When people say, well, it's not a real Supra, they use parts from BMW. BMW has been making the straight six turbo for quite a long time. Maybe not as long as that Toyota. Maybe not as long, but maybe not to the same specs. The thing about the Toyota Supra, the Mark IV specifically,
Right.
is the bottom end of the straight six was cast iron. The thing about cast iron is it's strong and it holds boost very well.
Yes.
You can just Google stories about them holding 600 plus on a stock bottom end because that cast iron is so strong.
So let me ask you then. Now you've got a built Subaru. You've put a lot of money, time, and heartache into that vehicle.
Too much heartache.
Do you think that you could give one of these new Supras a run for your money in that vehicle?
So
a run for its money, I should say.
Well, I think it's percept. I don't know. Am I using the wrong word? Perceptive. It's like, the new Supra is rear-wheel drive.
Is that right?
You're comparing a rear-wheel drive twin turbo straight six Supra to an all-wheel drive 4-cylinder. Yeah. Now, what I can say to you, a testament is, in 2017, I had bought the new STI that came out.
Right.
Which, in my opinion, was, I think it's 17 to 19 or 17 to 18. It was that last body style where it really actually looked okay. And that's not my, I bought the 17, Subaru STI because it was a good deal. I didn't buy it because it was my favorite STI. I bought it because it was a good deal and is what I wanted since I was a kid. Me and my buddies, we've always dreamed of having some car like that.
What's your favorite STI then? The Bug Eye?
It's got to be the Bug Eye. Always the Bug Eye. The Bug Eye Subaru the WRX has to be the best in my opinion.
What years was that?
So 2002, I believe it started to 2004. It was very short. I think Mid 2004, 2005, they switched to the Blob Eye, or yeah, I believe Blob Eye.
And that's when it really had that classic blue and gold livery. Is that correct?
Yeah, that World Rally Blue. I had an '08 WRX that was that World Rally Blue, and it wasn't the nicest car, but just that color was amazing. So comparatively, I raced my buddy Trent's, who has a Mark IV Supra stock, and
Oh
which
yeah,
he's
I've
he
seen it. It's pretty nice.
he has a gold mine, and the reason being is because he has a Mark IV Supra, completely bone stock, unmolested.
Yes.
You don't get it. Anybody who gets a Supra is building 1,100 horsepower or doing an insensuous amount of mods to it. And in this sense, he has done nothing to it, and it's just perfect. Like sitting aside that, like I remember when I first met him, just sitting aside the Mark IV Supra, like being like, you always get those TikToks where they say that, that dumbass shit where it's like, is that a Supra? Like
Yeah.
it is just for me being, and you can relate to this as well, being inside a piece of genuine Japanese muscle and sitting in there and just feeling everything. He has the original Japanese like registration, stuff like that, just touching things. And I don't know, like for me, there's just this bond that you have with cars, being a car guy for me,
Right.
it's so different. It's almost intimate in the sense that like I am touching this, I'm feeling it. It's like it's weird. It's different. You have these Joes out there who, do oil changes and stuff like that, and that's fine.
Yeah.
I'm not bashing on the guys that just, don't go to Walmart and spend $60 in oil change and do it themselves because they are looking to better themselves. But just sitting there and touching this car, it's great. So we wound up going in. We all were living in Colorado at the time, me, you, and Prince.
Correct.
We were all living in Colorado, and I raced him Mark IV Supra versus it was a '94 Supra, which at the versus a 17 STI. Granted, you're doing straight six twin turbo versus 4-cylinder single turbo, and in my opinion, I feel like they even out because you have a updated 4-cylinder. That's what 17 plus 6. You're looking at 23 years newer 4-cylinder turbo versus that straight six. They were almost even, which is a great testament, I feel like, because technology has come so far in that
Yeah.
sense.
Well, the great thing about his car too is should he ever want to sell it, he's not really done that much to modify it,
Which is
mean-
good.
Yeah, it's a perfect foundation for somebody who wants to take that car and go
A
crazy.
blank
with it.
slate, a blank slate. And he always talks to me. He's like, "Oh, dude, I think I'm gonna sell it. I think I'm gonna sell it." Hey, listen, like I get it. We all fall on hard times, especially when COVID hit. There's nothing. There's no joke in the sense that we've all fallen on hard times and we all need money. But if I was in that position, and I can't say, maybe everyone's situation is different, but he might get 60K, 70K for that car now.
Right.
Save it for 10, 15 years until his youngest son is like in, high school graduating. You might get up, 100 plus for that.
I mean, they're not making more of those.
They're not, they're not. And, it's a good investment on his end. And he did great with that. And I always tell him that he always, how many times he's hit me up. He's like, I'm going to sell it. Well, I've always convinced him, just don't sell, just hold on to it because there's not going to be another one of those.
100%. I mean,
And-
even if he would try to turn around himself and get another one of those, it'd be so hard. He'd spend so
He
much
would. He
more money.
wouldn't. Let's be honest. When he bought that car, he might have had a good pocket of change with him and was able to afford that and been in the financial position to obtain that sort of vehicle. It's not very often that people have that extra money where they can just dump. If I want to go out and buy what he had right now, do I have 60 grand? No, I don't.
I don't think that's what he put into it originally, was it?
No, not even close. No, so he has that upper leg, that leg up. I'm sorry, the
Yeah.
leg up, if you will. So
So let
He
me
had-
ask you then, while I got you here and we're talking about cars.
yep, interesting.
I know your Subaru, you built it up pretty well. There was some sort of engine fault or something, and you and I ended up working on the engine together. We built it together. What was that fault?
So I bought the car from a dealership. I bought it and I said, "Hey, I want this STI." And like, "Okay, cool. Dealership guys, cool. You want this STI? Awesome. We'll give you whatever you want. You're a fucking, you're a guy. You got good credit. Whatever it may be." So I bought it. I actually sat there in the dealership for 2 days, 8 hours a day for 2 days. Walked out of there with the price I wanted, everything like that. I bought the STI, and I have to tell you, instantly buying the STI, I almost had a panic attack because, like I told you this the other day, you go from driving because you have one of the brand new Jeep Rubicons, you also have one of the brand new Escalades.
Yeah.
I have one of the newer Yukon XLs,
Yeah.
and then I have a shitty beach beater that I bought for like $300 and my
Yes.
STI. You go from driving such a shitty, slow car to getting into a performance machine, and it's like night and day. There's an exhilaration factor there that is just immense, right?
Right.
So I bought this car. I had a panic attack going onto the highway, just knowing I can put it in whatever guy I wanted to, switch it between whether it was eco, sport, or sport plus, or sport sharp, as Subaru calls it. And just fucking wailed on this car and it was great, happy with it. A few months went by, I had a cylinder misfire. Instantly, with Subarus, there's a few things that can go wrong. People always say head gaskets. That's a cheap cop out. If you think you're a mechanic and you go, oh, Subarus and there are head gaskets, I've never gone through a head gasket. You're an idiot. If you're
No.
gonna like go out there and be like, well, Subaru and STIs, their head gaskets. If you're a true Subaru guy, it's the bottom end bearings that go
Well,
first.
especially when you're running stock boost pressure. I mean, you're really gonna have a hard time popping one of those head gaskets.
Exactly. So you're looking at bottom end bearings, and I've had that issue before with my '08 WX. You're looking at those, you spin a fucking bearing in your bottom end.
Yeah.
So instantly, I was getting a cylinder misfire code. So for me, I thought ringland failure. So basically, what happens is the gap between the rings on the piston isn't wide enough apart. So when the cylinder heats up, that ring actually closes on itself, wears, and either grinds into the cylinder wall or you lose compression. So I
Now,
had
are
a
you
cylinder
talking about the
misfiring.
piston rings there?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
I am. And I was having a cylinder misfire. You could feel it on idle. You'd sit at a stoplight and you'd feel I was running on 3 cylinders for like ever. I remember me and you, we raced that Ford Flex on 3
Oh
cylinders. It was
God,
a
that
V6.
Ford Flex.
It
What
was a
kind of
V6 twin turbo. That thing pulled
That's
on
a twin
us.
turbo?
Yep, twin turbo
We got
V6
smoked by
EcoBoost.
a wagon, dude. It was
I did.
unbelievable.
I did. But for 7 psi in lit mode on a 3 cylinder, in theory, it did okay. It was not slow,
No.
and good on Subaru. So I had that issue. Found out that I was having cylinder misfire. So instantly I thought piston rings. Ringland failure is a big thing.
Yeah.
So meaning we brought it to the shop. It took us maybe 45 minutes to get the engine out. We rebuilt the bottom end with nitrate treated crankshaft, manly rods, manly pistons, basically a bottom end build
Yes.
initially.
Was it at that point you did the valves, or was that later on?
No, that was later on. So we did the bottom end build, and I remember getting those piston rings, and we ran through the sheet supplied by Manly that said, "Hey, if you're going to run this, boost, this is what you set your piston ring gap to." And we made sure everything was inspect because as you use your engine and temperatures increase, metal expands. So you need to be able to understand that running higher boost means more fuel, means more air, means more heat.
Yeah.
And you don't want your rings overlapping or touching each other and causing you ringland failure. So we gapped the piston rings to be able to run 20 to 26 psi, I believe, was the Manly specification.
And what's the stock boost on that?
The stock boost was 17.8. I think in Colorado. Now this is in Colorado where you're 5,800 feet above sea level. I
Mhm.
don't know if that makes much of a difference, but I would assume
Oh, I think it
that
would.
the lack of oxygen, has something. I know for a fact the lack of oxygen directly interprets or not interprets, but relates to that.
Right.
So I was running 17.8, 17.2, I think, like normally, at certain days, I get more humidity or whatever, more dense air. We assembled the engine. We had those issues, and we gapped the piston rings to the spec that I want to build the engine for. We built it. We ran it. and it still had that misfire. And now for me on that end, and you remember it, we had a budget for whiskey building that engine.
Oh, I'm actually glad you brought that up because I was just about to say the exact same thing. We put this car back together. Unfortunately, we put money into this motor. We put it into the bottom end on the crank and everything to get this thing running again. And unfortunately, it didn't fix the problem. We still had a fully built bottom end, but that misfire was still there. And when we put this whole engine back together again, and we went to that first initial startup, we weren't exactly 100% sure we did everything right. We took our time through it and we researched everything. But that initial startup, when you're thousands of dollars in, is still very scary. So we've gone through, I don't know, 20 bottles of whiskey, thousands of dollars. We crank that motor over and it fires, and we're like, just a sigh of relief. Like, okay, it didn't explode in our faces.
That was one of the biggest moments for me. I would have to say in my life where it's like, hey, Justin, I know we're best friends, but I have just dumped my life savings into this car.
Yeah.
If we messed up one little bit, everything's out of the window.
It was one of those
We're
things
done.
too where like I was pretty sure we knew what we were doing, but not 100% sure.
We were
So
learning.
that was the thing. Like we didn't go into this completely blind. We do have mechanical experience under our belt.
Of course, yeah.
But I think especially when it's your money on the line, like it's scary.
Yeah, that's hard earned, like me working a 9 to 5, like just trying to like save up all my money and then taking a leap of faith and be like, hey, I think we know everything we're doing. I'm confident in both of ourselves because, I relied on you a lot too because, I hate to say it, and I don't think it's an insult to either you or me, but like I kind of took a lead on that because it was my car, and I was like, hey, Justin, this is what we're doing. And then a lot of the portion of it was, this is what we're doing. Hey, Justin, verify. Does this make sense to you? Is this exactly what we should be doing?
Oh, absolutely. I think there were certain times through that build where we would just ask questions of each other. Why are we doing it this way? Why are we putting it back in this order? Why are we making these
Just
measurements?
manuals upon
Just
manuals.
to check with each other to make
Yep.
sure we're on the same page and both kind of have the same idea moving forward.
Exactly. So we built the bottom end. We put the heads on. We dropped it back inside the car. We did our first initial startup, and it ran. And I have to say, I've had a fuck ton of sex in my life. I love pussy. I love fucking. I love everything that has to do with that.
Even if it's a man.
Yeah. Even as fuck you, Justin. Here's the thing. There's nothing better than when me and you are be able to stand next to each other, start that car up, and be able to hear that engine roar for the first time after something that we thought we could never actually do. When people doubted us.
Yeah.
We did it.
People doubted us.
Oh, everyone's like, you never can get that running again. Your engine's all over the garage. Okay, cool. And I don't know if the word would be atone or what would it say? Like, I give a lot of that to Gary, and my mentor, Gary, what he taught me.
Why don't you tell us for our listeners more who Gary is?
Well, I mean, Gary, taught me everything I need to know about cars. I travel with him around the United States. He had me as a crew chief on his race team. He had the one and only V8 Rally Ranger at the time.
A Ford Ranger.
Yep, Ford Ranger, 1985, 86. And,
now, what was in there? Was that a LS?
You know what? I want to talk about it, but I think that deserves a call-in from Gary and an episode in itself.
Oh, yeah. I'd love to have Gary on the show.
I think maybe next episode. We have a few people I know for the next few episodes. I know friends with Jack Mandeville from Vet TV. I know we want to have him on. I know we have Gary.
Yes.
I know we want to have Don Caskey on, who's got all the tattoos from everywhere around the world. We have I have my buddy Norman, who is a great human.
Oh yeah, we got to get Jack on the show. We got to get Norm on the show.
We have
a lot of
everybody.
exciting.
We have
episodes
so much packed up. So I just remember building this engine. We started up. We finished it. It was great. I drove it to work. I mean, like me and you, like, you saw us. We rode it together after our efforts, are the fruits of our labor paid off.
It did run.
It had the same issue.
Cylinder 2 misfire.
We came back with it. And I was like, yo, Justin, we did all this. It's wrong. That doesn't work. Like, let's reevaluate.
Yeah.
So we already did the bottom end. We know the bottom end is within spec and it's what we need to be done. So then I was like, okay, well, we did the bottom end. Well, the only, next portion to build is fuel system, bolt-ons, and top end.
Yeah.
So we went with the bigger turbo. We went with the 1050X injectors, the 1050 IDs, the injectors. We went with the fuel system. We went with the E85, Cobb, flex fuel ethanol kit. And we fully built the head, stage 3 Brian Crower cams, GSE valves, Brian Crower, BC 600, valve train, which by the book, Brian Crower states that those cams and springs pair with each other and they can support up to 8,300 revolutions per minute through that engine, which is a fuck ton of RPMs.
Yeah.
I mean, have you ever been in your own car and thought, "Oh, I'm going to rev out to 8,000 plus."
Just don't go.
Yeah, it doesn't. So we did that.
Now,
And
let me
that's
ask you a question on that real fast.
I'm interested.
I can't remember, to be honest with you. Maybe it's the whiskey. Maybe I'm just getting old. Who knows? Did you at the time did you send those heads in to be redecked?
Yeah, so the heads weren't warped because, after time, we're gonna get really technical here. Sorry, guys. I gotta let this out. The problem, the thing about bring it on back to the Supra, or any engine. Let's take like XYZ engine, right? You
Yeah.
have a cast iron block, and a lot of cast iron blocks are paired with aluminum heads.
Mm-hmm.
The thing about that is you don't have thermal continuity. And what I mean by thermal continuity is both portions of the metal, so both the block and the heads, whether one's aluminum, one's, cast iron, they both heat up at different rates and they both retain heat at different rates. So they're not moving and flexing together as one. So with the Subaru engine, where everything's aluminum, it's one whole unit that's heating up at the same time. So I didn't have the machine shop that I took it to, which was actually in Colorado Springs. Ennis Rink was the company. They did a great job. It was just a bunch of fucking old dudes in there, dude. And they're
Right.
like, they smell like cigarettes and whiskey. And they're just like, yeah, dude. I'm pretty sure they're half drunk half the time. Like, yeah, we know everything about
Oh,
anything.
kind of like how we would be if we opened our own auto mechanic shop.
Yeah, just old heads that knew whatever you could like want to know about anything. And they took care of my heads, and they decked my head just to make a flat plane again.
Mm-hmm.
They did a 3-angle valve job, and the reason they did a 3-angle valve job is because on the Subaru, the valve seats aren't that big. So you need valve seats to dissipate heat. So if you take off a lot of material out of your valve seats by trying to do a 5-angle valve job, you remove that heat dissipation factor.
Yeah.
So by doing a 3-angle valve job, it's still sealed correctly and sealed well without eliminating that heat dissipation factor.
Right.
So with the
Especially
GSC
on a turbocharged car, like
heat's a
heat
big
is going to
thing.
be your biggest enemy.
Exactly. So I went with the GSC valve train. I went with the stage 3 cams. I went with the bronze valve guides. I went with springs retainers. Whatever I could do, which was in my budget. We built the heads. We put it all back together. We did that.
Right. So,
And
I don't want you to skip over this though. When we replaced those valves out of there and you pulled the old valves out, which should have been a stock valve,
I know what you're talking about.
one of the valves on cylinder number 2 seemed to be the wrong size.
Yep. So cylinder number 2 was the code we were getting. And I had bought that car. It was under warranty. I took it back to this big dealership in Colorado Springs. I don't even know what it was called at this point. And they're like, oh, we don't know because we're fucking, just dealership mechanics. Like, we don't know what's going on. You have a cylinder 2 misfire. And they want to charge me a shit ton of money. I was like, well, the money you're going to charge me, I could do this for my fucking self and be a
Yeah,
fucking.
that's how I originally got in it. It just made more financial
Exactly. Like,
sense.
you're not going to charge me $3,000 to do this when I can build this for $3,000.
Yeah.
And upon further examination of cylinder number 2, which had the misfire, it looked like because the Subaru STI off of 08, the WRX and STI after 08 was 2. EJ25. We
2.5 liter boxer engine.
Yep, exactly, flat 4. So at that point, we were like, I took the fucking cylinder head off, and Gary again, and I should have listened to Gary from the very beginning, from the get go. He told me, "Hey man, if cylinder number 2 is your fucking deal, you need to spend a day on cylinder number 2. Examine every little thing you need to. I didn't listen to him because I was an idiot and I thought I was hot shit and knew things about cars, which I didn't at that point. We're always still learning. Like my dad says, the day you stop learning is the day you die. And I take off the cylinder head. I look at cylinder number 2. I notice one of the exhaust valves is way smaller than every other valve. The intake and exhaust valves are the same size, but it looked like someone took a valve from a 2 liter and put it into a 2.5 liter. This valve was not burnt. It was completely symmetrical. It was perfectly round. It literally looked like someone just took a random small valve and put it in there. And
So
that
it
was the
probably
issue.
wasn't sealing up to make compression.
It was not sealing. It was not sealing at all. And I even lapped those valves, but it was so small that it wasn't under compression. It was just pushing shit out through the exhaust stroke. So, like Gary, when we have Gary on, he'll tell us about all that stuff and how you can just do little tests with a piece of paper on how to know which one of your just crazy shit. Which one is it? The exhaust stroke? Is it the intake? Like which one is giving you the fucked up, reading? So we did that, replaced the valves, and that was the big issue. Replace it, E85, big turbo, I have the whole book, listen to it. I think I bought all my parts brand new, and I want to say, I don't think it's an exaggeration. I think I'm 16,000 into bottom end and top end with labor. Let's not even call labor. Let's just talk about expendable materials, all that extra stuff into that engine.
You're probably in the whiskey scene on this engine, probably $500-600.
I was gonna say $1,000. I know for like you were there through almost all of it. It was a bottle a day.
Yeah, lots of times we would start on a Saturday because we're both off work, and we would get in there in the morning, and by lunch we've cracked a bottle of whiskey, and we'll work till 10 o'clock at night or whenever. Sometimes we'll even get started on a second bottle.
We've worked till 5 a.m. We've done that.
Had a great episode today. Before we wrap it up today, I have a great question I want to hit Thomas with real quick. So would you rather have sex with a goat and no one know, or not have sex with a goat, but everybody thinks you did?
God damn it. All right. So sex with a goat.
Yes.
And everyone knows about it?
Sex with a goat, no one will know.
No one knows.
Or no sex with a goat, but everybody will think that you did.
Sex with a goat, no one knows. 100%.
And why is that?
I mean, I just don't want people to know. At that point, it's like, do I want everyone to think that like Thomas is a goat fucker? No, not at all.
So really, it's about public opinion for you and kind of how you're going to be seen by everybody else that really makes the difference there.
I mean, yeah, isn't it all like, you perform certain actions and you do certain things because, not because, if everyone had that same mentality that like, no one will ever know what I did and stuff like that, then we'd all be like, like maniacs and wild. But it's that judgment of others that makes that question, that situation a little different.
It's very interesting. Yeah, I can see that. I'd probably go ahead and actually lean the same way too.
Exactly.
I wouldn't want people to know that I had sex with a goat.
If I did it, man, it's probably not gonna be a good time anyway. But if I did it, I'd rather nobody know about it. I don't want people to think I'm a goat fucker. That's just, not my forte, and I really just don't need that negative energy on me.
Yeah, I think actually, to throw all the way back to the beginning of the episode, though, I think Tim Buck Owens might have had some relationships.
Yeah,
with
Tim Buck Owens is just disgusting. So,
but that's a story for probably another day.
Of course it is.
Hey, let me go ahead and we're going to start reading some emails from some of our fans out there. And we got a great email from Norm, and he's got a 3-part question for you. I want to go ahead and ask of you and see if we can answer these questions. 1, what was your inspiration to start this podcast?
So, I think that you, Justin, have had quite a bit of influence on me, just in the sense that I think we both vibe very well together and we have a lot of good conversation. And I think there's a lot of times that me and you have hung out together and we've been like, hey, we have just good topics, good conversation,
Sure.
and the way we vibe with each other, it just meshes very well.
Right.
So for me, it was almost easy to talk to you about, anything and everything.
Yeah.
So I think inspiration for the podcast was, I've had some, managers in the past that, have done their own podcasts and stuff like that. And, they've been successful. And I don't think I'm doing the podcast to be successful, but I feel like I'm doing the podcast right now to have a creative outlet for, both me and you to express ourselves, maybe just have fun talking, to each other about certain things and being able to document those situations, right? So if we might have, 10 different guests on, even if this podcast only lasts, 10 episodes, we might have 10 different guests on, and just being able to document those conversations with people. So, maybe 10, 15, 20 years, we have some sort of like, file basis, library
Oh
of
yeah. Yeah.
conversations and a way to document things, that I think that was a big inspiration for me
Yeah,
too.
we're definitely doing this because we want to. It's something where we think that um maybe for nothing else there's a little entertainment value for other people, but also we enjoy doing it and working through some of our own thoughts.
Oh yeah, I'm not looking to be a millionaire
Yeah.
out of this.
And I
No
know
way.
you mentioned in the past too, one of the people that we haven't brought up is you've always been a big fan of Howard Stern.
100%, yeah.
And what turned you on to Howard Stern?
I mean, my father, growing up, just like my father always had that cabinet of VHS tapes that you really couldn't watch because they were too explicit. He always
Mhm.
had his liquor and his VHS tapes in the same cabinet. And, Howard Stern's private parts, just seeing this guy push the limits and boundaries of what he can actually push out in the eye of the public, radio genre was incredible. So, that's really where I was at with that. And, Howard Stern, just continues to push the limits, whether I agree with everything he's done or not. It's always very entertaining.
I agree with you there. And then I'm just going to go ahead and take the second question here and save the third one for you, which is what is your goal in this journey? I think I speak for the both of us here when we say, like, if we make a couple bucks off of this podcast, that's fine. That's great. But it's not only about the money for us. We want to
Not at
create
all.
content that's going to be exciting and just fun to listen to.
I could have 10 listeners that consistently listen to us, and I will speak to those 10 listeners as if we had 10,000 or 100,000 listeners. 10 listeners is the same as if we had a crowd in front of us that we couldn't even comprehend. So, just being able to speak to someone who cares about what we're saying and enjoys the content that we put out, that is something that means more to me than anybody else could ever imagine.
100% agree. So the last question I have for you, all three of these again from Norm. We really appreciate you reaching out to us, Norm. You've been a really great person in our lives. Who is going to be your first guest on the show?
So it's tough because I know we have a few different talents that we want to bring on the show. Some may be big, social media, influencers. We have quite the connection, both between me and you
Yeah.
to be able to have certain people that we want on here that whether it be a social media influencer or, just a personal friend of people or someone who's made an impact on other people's lives and stuff like that, who is going to be the first guest on our show? It's hard to say, and I don't think it's a matter of like who means more, right?
Oh, certainly
This
not.
this is
No.
not a competition.
And there's availability and scheduling that goes into all that too.
I think me and you, I think I speak for the both of us when I say we could have, everyone on like, we usually film a few shows a week, right? So or
So far,
every
yeah,
other
they've been
week,
about
stuff
two
like
two
that,
weeks.
right? So who is going to be the first guest on the show? I think given the track record and what we have, done and stuff like that, I think our first big guess, I think we should start off strong. Um, is a buddy of mine, Jack Mandeville
Yes, from Vet TV.
from Vet TV. He actually plays Sergeant Butts. He works for Black Rifle Coffee Company, and he has a good team behind him, and all of them are super great. And we actually had the opportunity to bring them out to our job and show them around the place and, have a good time with them. So, Jack Mandeville has shown an interest in being on our podcast.
Yeah, we're definitely the closest to wrapping things up with him. But we have some other interesting people that we have in the works, and I gotta say, as far as I'm concerned, like I think that's probably the most impressive thing about our small little podcast is how we actually have a pretty decent lineup of guests that we might be able to get on this show.
Yeah, I mean, we're on our first episode. We just published it on YouTube. You can find it at In Gear Podcast, on YouTube. Um, we have in the works right now, and I think, probably more solid than not, a really good I don't know how would you say this, Justin? Like we have a few guys that are very interested that are on the same plane as us, as in they're not looking for, I think we all help each other out, right?
Yeah,
And there's that certain bit of like mutual respect. So we're all here, like nobody's here to make millions, and no
I
one's
agree
here
with
to
that.
like be the next big. No one's here to be the next big Joe Rogan, right?
Yeah, of course. And we go out too, and we go out and we say some pretty racy things, but we don't have any intention of trying to.
Outlandish, if you will.
Yeah, like we don't want to try to get anybody on just to embarrass them for the sake of embarrassment's sake or anything like that. That's not our goal. We want to just create good content and have something that we value as well. When we create a show, we talk about things that might interest us as well. If it's completely boring or just irrelevant to us, we're not going to deliver it to the listener.
Yeah, no, at that point, it's just putting on a face and you're not enjoying it. So
Absolutely.
I think, we have a good lineup. I think, we have some good connections and we have some good people that are in progress of like, dipping out. I think next week we're going to have a guest on for the next episode. I think we're going to be, so we're now filming episode 2, or episode 3, right?
This is
Yeah,
episode 3.
episode 3 of our podcast. So by episode 4, I think it's good to have, a good couple episodes introduce the people into like, what we have to offer. So episode 4, I know we're gonna absolutely gonna have a guest on, and I feel like it would do us a disservice to disclose that now, but we're gonna have a good, guest on for episode 4. And I think that's really gonna set the tone for the rest of the season, at least season 1. And
Yeah.
we're gonna have, some great leadership talks, a lot of comedy. We have some guy who did a lot of comedy in his career, coming on. Um and maybe, a sports guy here or there, and stuff like that. So I think that's there's a lot in the works right now, and I have only everybody to thank for that. There's a lot of effort that goes into, making something like this. And I really didn't realize that until we started. I came to you, Justin, and I was like, hey, let's make a podcast. And we're like, oh, it's cool. We'll just sit here and talk, and that's it. But, the amount of effort, time, money, and, resources that go into this is absolutely
Oh,
exponential.
yeah, I don't know, for a lot of our listeners too, like, when you create a podcast like this, and it's not to complain to the listeners, like, this is something we chose to do, and we're enjoying the process, but it's not just flick the mic on and start talking, like, we plan what we're gonna say, not necessarily word for
There's
word
days of
scripted.
effort in there.
Yeah, well, it's not necessarily word for word scripted, but we will have topics and ideas and things that we're going to move forward with. In fact, very little of our show is scripted, and maybe that shows, but we do have a general blueprint going into it, how it's going to look.
Exactly. Exactly. So listen, I can't say enough of a thank you to you, Norm, for reaching out to us. It means the world to us. I feel like Justin feels the same way.
100%.
We're on the same page. We have a lot of good episodes coming up, and I hope that you guys stick around and grow with us as we learn and we grow as a podcast together.
Yes.
Awesome. Well, listen, everybody, enjoy your week, enjoy your weekend. Reach out to us if you have any questions, comments, concerns, anything at all. It's something you want us to talk about, and we'll be there to answer all of that. So enjoy the rest of your weekend, and, Justin.
Yeah. Thank you so much for tuning in.
All right. Hey, listen, it's been a great week. I think we've had a lot of good things going on. We have a lot of good, guests coming on. We appreciate all of you sticking around with us, dealing with us, in the early stages of things. I can't say enough how appreciative I am for everyone just reaching out to us personally and saying, hey, we look forward to it and stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, for sure. If you want to go ahead and reach us just like Norm did, you can reach us at ingearpodcast@gmail.com. It's been a great episode. I can't wait until we shoot another one again. We'll see you next time.
Hell yeah. Have a good night, guys.